Welcome to a very special edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with the legendary saxophonist and jazz innovator Phil Woods. At the age of 83 and with 65 years on the jazz stage, delighting fans all over the world, he has plenty of insight and stories to dispense. From major influences, how he approaches gigs these days versus in the beginning, what is coming up next in his career, he is full of energy and love for jazz. This is Phil at his best. Please dig it, my friends.
Hello?
Yeah, Mr. Woods.
Yes.
It's Joe Domino with Neon Jazz.
Joe, okay, I'm Phil.
Phil, nice to meet you, man.
Yeah, my father's Mr. Woods.
Oh, okay.
So, what do you want to do? Shall we do it?
Yeah, if you're up for it, let's do it.
I'm up for it. I've been waiting for you.
Right on. So let's go ahead and start off here. What's been going on lately as far as recording and touring? What's going on in your life?
Oh, same as always. Busy as hell.
Very nice.
I just recorded with Greg Abadi up in Massachusetts, up in Rhode Island, actually. You know Greg Abadi, the great alto player from New England?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we did for Wailing Records. And then I'm also recording with the Quintet. We're going to record live from the Deerhead Inn, which is our local jazz club here in Delaware Water Gap. And then I'm going down to Appalachian University with to do a master class and play with their big band. And then I'm going to do Lafayette College here in Pennsylvania. And then we're going on a jazz cruise, my wife and I and the Quintet. And then I'm going to unpack.
Right on. Sounds great. Sounds great.
That's just till the end of the year. It's very cool. I always take December off, so that's just the October-November gigs. And a few other bits and pieces in between, but those are the high points.
Well, let me go back to kind of the beginning of your life here. Your uncle...
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
okay, but I mean, it's all on Wikipedia, but I don't know if I can add any more to it. But go ahead, shoot. What do you want to know about my early life?
Well, just a little bit of a motive behind the facts that we have, and this is what I want to ask you. Your uncle left behind an alto sax. You started playing at 12. Was it a natural fit for you? Was that instrument something you felt that was the thing for you?
No, you don't know the story. I was not interested in the saxophone. I found my uncle's saxophone who died of cancer. He was not my real uncle. He was my mother's sister's husband. I guess that would make him an uncle, but he was sick most of the time. And I was 12 years old. I think my main trust in life was, it was during World War II. I was making toy soldiers, go to the junkyard and get lead and melt it and make toy soldiers and paint them and all that.
Yeah.
So, and I was prowling around in my grandmother's house. She lived below us. We lived on the third floor, and she was on the first and second floor. And I looked under the wicker sofa in her den, and I saw this case. I opened it up, and it was the alto. And I said, "Oh my God, I can melt this sucker down and have some real soldiers, And somebody mistook my avaricious intent for an interest in the saxophone. So when Uncle Norman died, I was given the horn, and that's how it all started. But it was not my choice. It was all accidental. Until I met my first teacher, Mr. Harvey LaRose. And I think without that first teacher is so important, no matter who you are and what you're doing in life. A good teacher can nurture you and keep you going. A bad one can, disappoint you and depress you and make you want to quit and do something else. Well, Mr. LaRose just turned me on to Benny Carter and Johnny Hodges, and I discovered Charlie Parker on my own, so it was a good fit. But originally I was just, my mother said, your uncle, went to a great deal of trouble to leave you the horn, and even at age 12 I realized that dying could be considered a great deal of trouble. I mean, that's why I'm going to save it for the last. That's what I'm doing last, So she said you should at least take a lesson, and that's how my life started. By age 14 I was firmly committed because of Mr. Harvey LaRose's tutelage. I was totally committed to being an alto jazz player.
Right on. So, you were introduced to Charlie Yardbird. What did you like? Did you like the nickname Newbird that you were given?
No, nobody likes nicknames. Yeah, New Bird, they called. I mean, every alto player on the block was called New Bird. I mean, that shows you the imagination of journalism.
Right.
No, we knew Jackie McLean and me and all of the other alto players. We didn't pay too much attention to that. That was all bullshit to sell newspapers or magazines or whatever. We knew we weren't the New Bird. We knew who we were.
Right. Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, I never appreciated it, to tell you the truth. I thought it was rather stupid. You know, but I mean, it was flattering in a way, but just didn't, I mean, this was wide of the mark. But it didn't do any harm, I don't suppose.
Right. So let me ask you about Lenny Tristana. What did he teach you about life and jazz?
He taught me I didn't know enough. I only took 6 lessons with him, but I learned a lot. But it was kind of, it would be hard to explain, but it was pretty advanced stuff. But I caught on pretty quick. By the sixth lesson, I understood what he was talking about, and then I kind of inaugurated it into my way of playing. I mean, he was having me playing piano, and he'd have me write out a chorus on my favorite tune, and then he'd play along with me and show me some stuff. You know, it was pretty good. But I was way in over my head at first, but I caught up.
Right on. So, how do you approach a gig today versus the way you did when you started out? Do you have a whole different mentality, different way that you do it, or is there something that's the same?
I'm trying to find a good note, man. I'm trying to sound as good as I can, and it's not easy when you get to, I'm going to be 83 in a couple of weeks, so, you know, I've been doing it a long time, and I mean, I still love it. I still have the fire in the belly, even though I'm not as fleet of foot nor finger as I once was, but now I'm trying to find, I used to play a lot of 16th notes, now I'm trying to find a good whole note, you know, something that means something. I think, yeah, everything is beautiful.
Right on. What musicians that you played with over the years taught you the most? I mean, is there someone, when you like really think about all the gigs you've been in, who really...
I think Dizzy Gillespie and Quincy Jones are 2 of my biggest influences. Quincy discovered me, and Dizzy taught me a whole lot of stuff, and we were all... Dizzy and Quincy were my dear friends throughout life. I miss Dizzy, but Quincy is still around, and we talk once in a while. And yeah, I learned a lot from those 2 guys.
Conversely, what do you teach people that you gig with? What do you want them to get from playing with Phil Woods?
I want them to sound good, play well, and be sure about yourself. You know, but the first time if I'm to have a saxophone teacher, the first thing I make him. A saxophone student, the first thing I do is make him sit at the piano and play some piano. You got to be able to play the piano before you get to me. Otherwise, you might as well go to your local teacher and you'll be better. But I insist upon keyboard technique. No, not so much technique, but keyboard harmony. You know, which you have to teach if you go to Berkeley or Juilliard or any number of schools. You have to learn. Classical musicians have to do the same thing. So that's what I would do.
Speaking of piano, what did Monk teach you about playing?
What did Monk teach me about playing? Yeah. Oh, it's more like what did Hall Overton teach me about playing. Hall Overton was the guy that transcribed all of Monk's solos, and he gave me copies of it. So that when I went to the first rehearsal, I knew what was going on. I always do my homework. I always go to the piano. The piano has all of the answers. I go to the piano first and check out the harmony, and then I go to the horn and get the melodies together and try to find the hard parts and get them together. So that's, as I say, Thelonious Monk, you know, when you see like on a Monk tune it says G7, well, that's not like everybody else's G7. You have to study what the melody is and where it comes from in the piece, and you know, you have to do your homework before you can play Monk. It's not just a matter of playing the changes, but it's a matter of finding out what the man was about, and the man was very, very deep, you know, I mean, it was very deep, very deep.
Absolutely.
So I learned a lot. I learned that I had to learn a lot more.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning that I have to learn a lot more.
Absolutely.
I think that's what life's about.
It is, for sure. Do you like being famous?
Do I like being famous?
Yeah.
No, Kenny G is famous. I have a nice, good reputation, but I'm not famous. I'm very happy with my life the way it is.
What's the nicest thing a fan has ever said to you?
I mean, I meet a lot of couples who said that love my music, and when they got married, they played one of my songs from my LPs. That really knocks me out. And that happens quite a bit.
Right on.
And I've been doing it for I've been doing this for 65 years, so I got a lot of people I run across that say, we really enjoyed listening, and I've been recording since 1954, so I have a lot of material out there. It's really nice to, when I meet somebody who finds my music important in their life, that makes me feel really good. And the next greatest thing for a musician is to have a famous musician record one of his tunes, and that's happened to me several times. So that's good. The Goodbye Jamal recorded Goodbye Mr. Evans, and a few other tunes of mine have been recorded by world-renowned musicians, and that really makes you feel good as a composer.
So, after 65 years of playing, is there anybody that you want to play with that you haven't yet?
No. I don't think so. I mean, I always wanted to work with Frank Sinatra, and I almost did, but it never really quite worked out because I played with every singer known to man. Let's see, is there anybody I want to play with? I think I played with everybody. I mean, they just released a Bud Powell record that was recorded back in 1957 and never was released, and the Japanese released it last week, wow. Which is pretty strange. It's me and Donald Byrne and Bud Powell. So that goes out to my discography. Because I never really recorded with Bud. I played with him, but now I can fully say that I've recorded with Bud Powell. So I mean, my God, check my discography. I can't think of anybody that's left out.
Yeah, without a doubt. So you've been inspired for 65 years to play the horn and to do amazing things. What has been the inspiration for you?
I love music. I love what I do. I'm a lucky man. I mean, I travel all over the world, and I stay in the best hotels. I make a good taste, and as I say, I do what I love. I'm a lucky man.
So, of all the albums that you've made as a leader, whenever you really kind of sit back and think, what period was really something that strikes your fancy and makes you think, man, that was awesome?
I think some of the best stuff was done by the Phil Woods Quintet in the 70s and 80s when we had Tom Harrell. He was the horn, and I think that was, and Hal Gopper was the pianist. And I think all of the Phil Woods quintets have been pretty good, but that was sort of a high point. And we did a lot of records for Concord, and I think they hold up very well.
Without a doubt.
Because we had the consistency of being with the company for a while, so that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah. So, has jazz made the world a better place?
Yeah, of course it has. I sleep a little better knowing that jazz is in my neighborhood. You can't. I mean, the importance of jazz is. I mean, I lived in Europe for 5 years, and I was in Russia with Benny Goodman's band, and jazz music through the Voice of America. Jazz always represented freedom with responsibility, and it's a very important propaganda tool. I mean, America used to send Louis Armstrong and Dave Brubeck and Duke Ellington and Quincy Jones and Dizzy Gillespie overseas to represent America, and it's a very important music. It's more than just. It's not easy. I mean, people always say, "Oh, I like soft jazz," or smooth jazz, and I mean, that's fine. But I prefer more creative music. It's an improvised American music is what jazz is all about, with African overtones, of course. But it encompasses everybody. I mean, whether they're flamenco players in Spain or the music of Argentina. I mean, jazz has influenced the whole world's music. We used to have a Voice of America for Americans, for Europeans, but we never had a Voice of America for Americans. So a lot of Americans don't like jazz. They don't quite understand it. And I like to think that we're helping to change that.
Man, that's a beautiful answer. What's left for you to accomplish, Phil?
What's left? I'm still writing and rehearsing, and Quintet is going. I mean, I'm just going to keep on keeping on, as they say.
Right on. So we're coming here from Kansas City, the home of the Jazz Hall of Fame, and a lot of stories. Have you gigged here? You have any good memories of Kansas City?
Kansas City, yeah. I played Baker's Lounge many years ago.
Right on.
Yeah, it was terrific.
Cool.
Kansas City is a great town for jazz.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Let me ask you this. I'm going to kind of wrap everything up here. How do you want the world to remember you? When everybody opens up the book of jazz, the proverbial book, and they look at Phil Woods, how do you want the world to remember your impact on it?
Well, I'd like it to remember the fact that I've tried to remain true to the music and tried to sound good. Tried to say something that was meaningful to the world, or to my best friends, or to my wife. I just want to sound good and help change the world.
Phil, thank you very much. I love your music. It's been a thrill to talk with you.
Thanks, man. Yeah, hope to see you soon.
Absolutely. Take care.
Absolutely. Bye.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in New York, KC, LA, and spots all over America, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to the legendary Phil Woods for his energy, brilliance, and time. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Or, for all things Neon Jazz, visit theneonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the music, my friends.
Neon Jazz.